Well, welcome back in here. Monday Fun Day on this January the 6th. The year is 2020. Wrap your head around that. It is another edition of the Happy Hour Tip-Off Show. It is powered by WagerTalk.com. I'm Joe Raineri. He is Ralph Michaels. It's all about college hoops here, guys, in case you haven't noticed. And I know everyone's it's all about the NFL. I get it, national championship. But, Ralph, let us not forget a whole lot of college hoops here yet to play leading us into March, the fun time of year we like to refer to.
Yeah, we're just getting into the season with conference play starting, and now we're getting into the heart of it. So, we've seen a lot of – it happens often at this time. You're coming out of your break. You're not in your routine. 34 upsets on Saturday and Sunday this weekend. So, it's something you have to think about the first week of January here, that the home team may be out of sync. A lot of times the road team treats it like a business trip. Mm-hmm. You're away from your distractions. You've gotten into your routine, where sometimes the home team doesn't fall into that same category.
Yeah, no, it was a hell of a weekend, a lot of fun, some great games yesterday. In fact, a loaded card on Saturday, Ralph. A limited card here today. I think just about 16 games, of course. We've got a couple of games that we'll highlight for you coming up. Plus, we'll take a look at the markets, let you know who some of the movers and shakers are. But, of course, we like to take a look back at what the weekend provided us. Ralph, certainly when it comes to upsets, everyone loves a good upset here. And as we take a look at the card, interesting enough, Ralph, and I'm praying that I got the right card up here, and I think I do, but I'm going to guess top Saturday, bottom Sunday. How's that?
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you knew. I mean, come on, you knew at least Oregon State, Colorado was yesterday.
Well, I knew mostly because the top one says Saturday and the bottom one says Sunday, but that's all right. That's neither here nor there. You're right.
You're well ahead of me. Okay, yeah. Well, you look and you see a lot of upsets, but there were no huge upsets.
Right.
There were no wows. I mean, a double-digit upset is a big deal, but, in college hoops, there's a few of those that occur. So, a lot of the middle-of-the-range guys, Presbyterian, just for those. And, we mention rankings a lot, looking at KenPom, tempo, and offense and defense. Well, just to give you perspective, there's 353 teams in Division I. Presbyterian came into the Saturday against Gardner-Webb 341 out of those 353 teams. So they're a team that's not going to win many games, although they're now 5-10 on the year.
Wow. And
they've won back-to-back games. I'm sure that's the first time they've won 3 games in a row in a long time.
Yes, absolutely. And, of course, we're a couple of head-scratching games here. Obviously not some of the upsets, but you pointed out Oregon State to Colorado. Colorado, we just watched, take care of Oregon this week here, Ralph, at home. Something they have they're used to doing here. Definitely not a place that Oregon has had any success playing. Oregon's good, and then they come back, and then they lay an egg against Oregon State. The way of college hoops, is it not?
Well, it is. You have those weekend series in a lot of these conferences. And, yeah, Colorado's a tough place to play, but it's also tough to sweep those. And, Oregon State's a team that didn't look good the week before, the game before. And then what happens? They're off the loss to Utah. Mm-hmm. They come back and they switch. Oregon's off the loss to Colorado. Then they go out and beat Utah back-to-back. So, you would think that's one of the toughest road trips in basketball, playing the Utah and the Colorados. But in the last couple years, it hasn't. You think of the altitude and playing those teams on a Thursday, Saturday, or within a couple days rest. So, that's why we look up numbers, because numbers tell you the truth. Why you think it would be one of the most difficult, and the home teams would have a huge edge. It hasn't been exactly the same. I'm
wondering here too, Ralph. Was there a rain? Was it a rain short? Did they only play 5 innings in Fairfield and Canisius, or what happened in this game exactly here at the bottom with 46-42? I know that's going to be in the under category for us on the next page over here. I'm just wondering. I didn't know if maybe it was a rain delayed game.
Well, it only went under by 43, so it's not. It's not like you can say, well, it flew under the total.
Oh my word, I can't. And Canisius has actually done a pretty good job of actually putting some points up this year. It was a little shocking to say the least here. And actually, speaking of those, Ralph, here are some of the bigger covers and total numbers. And yeah, there they are, right at that 43 under. Wow, Ralph, you don't often see that, but of course, welcome to 2020.
Well, live by the three, die by the three. In that game, Fairfield was 3 of 15 from 3-point land, and Canisius was 4 of 21. Yep. So when you're combined 7 of 36, let's see, 9 divided by 36 is 25%. So the team shot a combined 20-something% from 3-point land. And you're right. I mean, Canisius is a fast-paced team. But they're a team that just struggled shooting. They were 33% from 2-point land and 19% from 3-point land. So doesn't matter how fast you go down. If the ball doesn't go through the hoop, the points don't go up on the scoreboard.
It's interesting, too. Top of the list there, some of the biggest covers of the weekend. Of course, my alma mater there, who happens to be back in action here tonight. We'll get to that game. But Texas Tech just dispensing with Oklahoma State by almost 30 in that game there, Ralph. And Duke, too, just kind of you and me and Miami this year, I can't figure them out, Ralph. I got no. They're right down the road for me. I can't figure this team out. Larinaga, what little Harry's got left, is pulling it out as we speak.
Yeah, well, remember we talked about this Texas Tech team, and I said how unusual they were because they had multiple senior starters each of the last 4 or 5 years, and now he's got multiple freshmen with no seniors. So, Texas Tech struggled against Iowa, Creighton, and DePaul, but guess what? He beat Louisville on a neutral setting and held them to 57 points, and he beat Oklahoma State at home by 50. Chris Beard now has that team playing defense again. Maybe not to the level of a championship team, but they are a top 10 or at least top 20 defensive squad at this point.
Yeah, and I love the overs right below that, Ralph. Anytime you see those little asterisks, guys, that means that you had one game, 4 overtimes, 2 overtimes, 2. That Florida-Alabama game was going to age a few people as well. Alabama went into the half of that game, Ralph, up quite a number of points there, and Florida stormed back to take that thing into double overtime.
Yeah, the headlines of the paper said the O-Arena and the Florida Gators fans still buzzing.
Yep.
They play South Carolina tomorrow. It certainly looks like a play against. I have an angle which we'll bring up tomorrow. If you're trailing at halftime by over 10 points and the game goes into overtime and you win, you really are a fade the next game. So Tuesday, yes. We'll talk about more tomorrow when the Gators go into South Carolina with that.
Yes, absolutely. And then, a couple of the other games of note there. How about USC, huh? I mean, you've been talking about fading them for a while here now, Ralph, and they put up, they almost put up 40. They did put up 40 points. That's not bad, right?
Boy, there's times that, you talk yourself out of handicapping a game, and it was another game. Washington looked so bad against UCLA, and the game prior where they lost at home, and USC looked so good beating Washington State. I sent out my customers and I said this game was close to being a play, and I just didn't pull the trigger. But it's that damn Pac-12 where 2 days apart, teams look so different from one day to the next.
Yep, it's absolutely amazing. And then, of course, one final one, Ralph, that I laughed at. I saw Houston Baptist on the schedule. I saw the total around 170 and change, and I was like, I'm sure they're going to score at least 90 points. What I didn't take into consideration is Northwestern State was going to score 106 points, Ralph, and it was easily going to go over. Not to mention it was a crazy cover, too, 25.5 points.
Yeah, well, Houston Baptist, you got to remember, they were coming off that first win.
Yes,
they were off that overtime win against Central Arkansas. So shit, for a 1-11 team, we've talked a hell of a lot about Houston Baptist. And you know what? We're going to, because anytime you score 200 points in a college game total, you know what? You're going to get mentioned here. So
that's correct.
Now, I'm going to say this. How much would you have bet that St. Mary's Pacific was going to score more than
Never.
Northwestern State and Houston Baptist?
Blow me away, Ralph. Those were a couple of the totals and some finals that I shook my head at because I'm going, these teams are going to score 200 points. The totals are 170 and change with them. I mean, it was just absolutely crazy. And then, of course, it culminated late last night, Ralph, too, with a complete flop by Purdue. Illinois was a small favorite in that game, but my word, Ralph, a 31-point under in that particular game. Purdue only shot 37 points. What the hell was going on there?
Yeah, that's a Purdue team that we've seen up, down, up, down, up, down. And, we know that they never got blown out last year because of Carson Edwards. Well, guess what? When you don't have that go-to score and you have an off night, you can get run out of the gym. Just FYI, going back to that Pacific game.
Yes.
I should have looked up the last time St. Mary's allowed over 100 points, the last time St. Mary's scored 99 points. 10, 20, 30, 40, 54, 60, 68 points in the 4 overtimes. So it still would have gone over by 12, but it would have been 138
It'd
point
have been
total.
Close, right,
Yeah,
exactly. The 4 overtimes kind of took it to another level. But listen, a lot of people like that Pacific team this year, saying a little bit underrated schedule-wise, but that's a pretty impressive win even in overtime for them.
Well, Pacific doesn't play until Saturday. I'm looking up St. Mary's. St. Mary's plays Thursday against BYU.
Oh.
So you are off a legitimate game and a half. You played an extra 20 minutes.
Wow.
That's pretty tough. I was seeing if anyone played Tuesday or Wednesday because that would have been a fade for me, playing a 4 overtime game. So Pacific with no midweek game this week doesn't have that. St. Mary's might be in a little trouble against BYU on Thursday.
Yeah, there's a couple of games coming up, guys, which, of course, is why we go over these and let you know some of the spots from over the weekend, including some of the best players and some of the big standouts from over the weekend here, Ralph. You look at some of these schools, you look at some of these names, and, of course, the one that sticks out to me, Cassius Winston there, Michigan State doing what he does best there. Big game against Michigan that they handled not like they don't usually, but impressive to say the least, Michigan State and Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan has another player injured out for a while, and Michigan State is a team that passes that scoring around. So, time for Cassius, 9 assists and 32 points. That's a nice storyline. Desure Bowie is not the first time we've seen his name for Hofstra. 44 points leading the card on Saturday, and Belmont bounced back. They were off a loss, and we said, where's the offense going to come from North Carolina? Well, we'll see how many times we see Garrison Brooks' name. So 35 points for North Carolina, down another player now. So, we've asked that on the air. Who's going to step up and score? We'll see if we see his name here several more times coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah, Georgia Tech. Let's not bring up Georgia Tech. Another one of those teams, Ralph, done nothing but drive us crazy all year long. And, they put the beat down on UNC earlier over the weekend. So that was some great stuff, guys. I mean, Ralph, I even know, I think Green Bay, too. Did you, I think that was a winner. Was it not Green Bay over the weekend?
No, thanks a lot, Joe. No, that was if you go back and you look back, that was yesterday's biggest ATS fail to cover. I split on the day yesterday, but Green Bay was my loser. I appreciate you bringing that up.
There you go. Well, listen, I had the under in Georgia Tech UNC, so we're even there. I got no problem with that either. But we do have a couple of games here today on the card. We'll feature, of course, that Oklahoma State. We'll talk about that Oklahoma State West Virginia game that's coming up, Ralph. But we do like to talk some trends and angles here on a short card here. What'd you pull up? Anything today?
Yep. Couple long terms. UL Monroe continues to go under, and a lot of times these teams aren't 3-year angles, but they are 17 and 41 to the under on the road. Howard, a team we don't often talk about because they're one of the added teams, they're 2 and 13 against the spread at home, and North Carolina AT&T is 0 and 7 over under when at home. Georgia State has been a covering machine. 16-5-1 ATS. And we're going to talk about West Virginia. So I will mention that each of their last 6 games have gone under the total, playing some good defense when we talk about them in the featured game with Oklahoma State.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, taking a look at some of these, taking a look at the market here at some of these games here tonight, Ralph. Some of the movers and shakers that we're seeing here is, I'll give you one, for instance, I'm seeing a lot of movement on Troy State and Texas State, rather. Troy, taking on Texas State, 8 o'clock here tonight, Ralph. Seeing this move just continually down. A lot of money coming towards Troy. Opened up at 12.5. I'm seeing it down to 10s here right about now. It looks like it's continuing to go that way. A lot of love towards Troy's way. This is going to be single digits before long.
Well, with the Sun Belt now, the nice thing is we have 4 conference games, so you could start looking at conference stats. And I just think that, when you look at Texas State, they're so slow-paced that I just think people, even though Troy's the worst team in the Sun Belt, I think that with Texas State, they may get to 70 and win. So can Troy get to 60? That's really the question when you're handicapping the game.
Yep. Another big one, too. South Alabama, Texas, Arlington here tonight, Ralph, where opened up as UTA going to have a little love there. Opened up at about 8.5. I'm seeing down to 5.5 in some places. The total's coming down, too, from 143.5 to 138.5, and this one also at 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight.
Well, this is clearly a game where, people are looking at records, and UT Arlington is 5-10, and South Alabama with an 8-7 record.
Yep, and that's that's kind of what the part of the year that we're getting into, guys, and it's that easy to get some influence in these games. And then, of course, one final one. How about Army, Ralph? Army seems to be getting a little bit of love here. I don't know why, taking on Colgate, but there is, as far as handle goes, a lot of people loving this Army-Colgate game.
I will, full disclosure, the Patriot League is not one that I cover because so few people can play. But, I know of Army this. I was impressed. They beat Buffalo a couple weeks ago before Christmas. They went on the road and beat them handily. And, I looked and it was nothing fluky about that. Since this time, they lost to Wagner and Bucknell. But, Army's a team that it's January 6th right now. They've only played 1 game since December 21st. That was a 2-point loss to Bucknell on the road. So, you're playing your second game in 16 days. We'll see what happens.
Also seeing a lot of love for this Texas Southern Alcorn State game here, Ralph. A little SWAC going on, but Texas Southern getting an awful lot of love. It's at 11. It's going to probably continue to move up here. You like Texas Southern this year?
Texas Southern has played the toughest schedule
right? Yeah,
in the country.
Yep.
And, so when you look at a 4-10 team, you really can't gauge that. I mean, they beat Northern Kentucky early in the year. They beat Southern. But, although they probably are the best team in the SWAC.
Look at these road games. Wichita State, Gonzaga, Nevada, Oregon, Arizona. They have played everybody. Unbelievable. And 6-6-1 against the number, by the way, Ralph. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, you get value with those teams because people don't perceive them being the toughest schedule.
Yep.
I'm looking right now at Ken Palm's ratings, and, the overall record for the SWAC, the teams, the best team in the conference is either Texas Southern or Prairie View.
Okay.
Those teams are 5-9 and 4-10. Then you got Jackson State at 4-10, Arkansas, Pine Bluff 2-11, and Southern 3-11. You have to realize the SWAC doesn't have money. They need to play these kind of schedules. So there's no one in the SWAC. Grambling has a 500 record, which surprises me. Let me look at their schedule real quick. They played a number 84 schedule, so that's pretty impressive. Getting 7 wins. You look at their 7 wins, though, and it explains why. 4 non D1 teams. So
yep, that'll do it.
If you want to play some home games against non-Division 1 foes, they beat East Texas, they beat Ecclesia, they beat Paul Quinn, and they beat Rust. So if your best wins are Ecclesia and Rust, I don't know what sport we're talking about.
I'm with you there, man. It's that water polo team, man. It gets confused sometimes there. All right, it's a small card, Ralph. 6 games on a board. Obviously, I'm going to double dip because you know what underdog I'm going with here because we're going to talk about that game in a second. But is there a outside of the box here, outside of Oklahoma State, West Virginia game you're looking at?
I'm going to double dip as well, and I have a situation I want to go over for our viewers.
Perfect.
And, it seems like a live dog to me. So let me set it up. And again, when we're talking teams, trends, and angles, sides and totals, that just means they're team specific. That team has won that many games in that situation. When we're talking about systems, they're teams that are in a certain position or certain situation where any team has done this. And going back to 2016, so we have a nice sample size of over 3.5 years. If you were a favorite against a conference foe, each of the last 2 times you played them, and you were the favorite.
Okay.
So 2 times ago, you lost as a favorite against your conference foe. Last time you lost as a favorite against your conference foe, and now you're an away dog. So you were the better team, you have revenge. You were the better team, you have double revenge. Now you're an away dog. It's gone 66 and 44, 60%.
Okay.
So not a wow angle, but I'll tell you what, if you find a 60% situation that you like, and then it's a team you like as well, that sure boosts the play. And that's Louisiana tonight against Appalachian State. They're getting 8.5. Of those teams, Joe, they've gone 44 and 68 straight up. So they've won 39% of the time. That's not bad for a dog of, when you have the average line has been over 5 points. So, I'm going to just look at the system and say it makes sense to me. App State was the better team and lost twice last year. Now they're coming in with double revenge as the dog. So, a situational play and a live dog, I think, in my mind.
I like that. There was also a situational that came up for me, Ralph, that made me look at Georgia State, Arkansas State here. Arkansas State just can't stop turning the ball over, which is a bit of a problem for them this year. And the Georgia State-Arkansas State series, I believe the favorites are 6-2-1 against the number in the last 9 of this series. And Georgia State is not that big a 2.5-point favorite in this game, 2.5, 3-point favorite in this one on the road. And, yeah, I like Georgia State in this matchup here tonight against Arkansas State.
Yeah, well, no complaints with me. We talked about Georgia State and how they've been a covering machine.
Yep.
And, you're in that Sun Belt situation where, so many teams are playing weird schedules. The only negative I would state for Georgia State is, you're playing your 3rd road game in 5 nights because you play Thursday night on the road. Now you played Saturday on the road against Coastal, which you lost. And now you're going on the road Monday. But you also have a team whose losses this year, Charleston, Duke, Georgetown, SMU, and then Coastal Carolina. So you have a fast-paced team that, with Rob Lanier now, that is coming off a loss.
Yeah, the Red Wolves' defense not exactly great outside the top 50, I believe, in adjusted efficiency. And you mentioned that Georgia State, number 22 in the nation in adjusted tempo. They're going to get their shots up, Ralph. So the over might be worth a look in that matchup as well, especially the way Arkansas State is, and I looked at the number, too. I think they've turned the ball over, Ralph, in 20% of the time on offense. I mean, it's almost unheard of, which usually leads to extra points in a game somewhere along the line. So the over might be worth a look-see in that one. But where are you going to go tonight? Obviously, all eyes, 9 o'clock Eastern time, guys. West Virginia, OSU, Oklahoma State here. In this matchup, Ralph, if I'm not mistaken, that has seen the road team 6-1 in the last 7 against the number, I believe, in this series between these two teams.
Yeah, well, you're catching me not knowing that answer. So if you're going to say it, then grab it. Yeah,
Yep.
the road team has been 6-1 in this series.
Yep.
I didn't have that in my mind because I was leaning. I'm leaning towards your alma mater on this, Joe. And
Ooh, all right. Now we can talk.
I looked up and when West Virginia, has the toughest travel schedule in the Big 12 because everyone else is close and they do one-day trips. Well, when West Virginia travels long, they stay. And when I looked at the Big 12 teams that only had one day between games and they were both on the road, those teams have only gone 12-21, 28% against the spread.
Yes.
That's the position West Virginia's in. Then I look at Oklahoma State, and you have to remember that they were without their starting guard for quite a while. He was out 4 or 5 games, and now he's back. It's Isaac Kelly, and he was a starter all last year. Started the first 7-8 games this year. Missed 5 or 6 games. He came back against Southern Louisiana. They only played him 15 or 18 minutes. Then they still withheld his minutes against Texas Tech. He got up to 28 minutes, but he wasn't that effective on the road.
Yep.
I think him being back, I think West Virginia in a tough traveling spot. I think Oklahoma State wins this game tonight.
Yep, and I listen. I do think we'll probably both agree this is going to be a bit of a defensive battle here. I also jumped on the under at 138 in this matchup. The problem with West Virginia has been scoring, and we just saw that over the weekend with Kansas, where they played a really nice first half and just couldn't find the points in the second half. It's been the problem with Oklahoma State too. They've I think in their 4 losses, they've only scored over 66 points one time, Ralph. So it's these aren't exactly two light them up kind of offenses, but we know this about West Virginia: they're going to play some defense here in this game tonight.
Yeah, what they did to Ohio State impressed the hell out of me up in Cleveland on the 29th. And let's, going into Kansas and losing by 7 isn't anything to hang your head on. It's, it's a good performance. So their only other loss this year for Bob Huggins and his squad is they lost to St. John's on the road by 2. So you have 2 road losses to St. John's and Kansas by a total of 9 points. So it shows you're going to be in every game. And, when you have a top 10 defense, perhaps a top 5 defense, and, it's impressive because they have a freshman point guard in Miles McBride who's handling it well. And, he's got 4 underclassmen. He's only got 1 senior in his starting lineup. And I think that's what impressed me the most is I didn't have West Virginia at the beginning of the year. My numbers didn't have him anywhere near playing this well with as young of a team as he has. But if young kids jump on board of your schemes and they learn how to play them well, then so be it. You have this kind of team.
Yep, very good. In fact, -2 is what West Virginia opened up as a favorite here, guys. It is down to -1, -1.5 in a lot of places. So they are getting a little money there. In Stillwater for the OSU Cowboys. Going to be a good game. Going to be a fun game to watch too. And I don't know how many points are going to be scored in this game, but it should be fun to watch. But all in all, Ralph, I mean, I think best bet, safe to say that we're both back in OSU here.
Yeah, I am. There's, I have one play today at Wager Talk, a $9 basketball play. So that's obvious my top play of the day. So this isn't a best bet where I've given out my actual plays at Wager Talk. But in the next level of play, absolutely. I think Oklahoma State clearly is, in that category where I will have something small on them, not like a traditional play,
right,
but clearly worthy of a tip-off best bet show here.
There you go, guys, and it would certainly behoove you to go over and take advantage of that $9 play right now. You can get it over to wagertalk.com. All you got to do is head over. It's pretty simple. Wagertalk.com. Get to Ralph's page there. He's got all his plays up, not just today. $9, guys. You can get Ralph's best play of the day in college hoop, and, of course, all week there. Wagertalk.com is where you need to go. Go to the Cal Sports page, and, of course, course, make sure you're tailing Ralph on Twitter at CalSportsLV. So no matter where it is you guys decide to go here on the card today, good luck with the plays. Ralph and I will be back again tomorrow, breaking it down for you, getting you ready for a lot of situations based upon the results from over the weekend. A lot of fun games. Big card tomorrow, Ralph. Should be an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, you look at the number of cards, it only looks to be about 30 games, but all 30 are lined, and all are basically, your mid-majors and up. We've got MAC, we've got American Conference, we got ACC, we got SEC. So while
Buffalo,
it might only be 30
State,
plays.
I'm looking for a few of these. I'm looking Florida, South Carolina. There's a couple going to be a lot of fun here.
Yeah, there really is a strong Tuesday lineup, and the numbers, like we said, when we talk college basketball as a game is in general, a lot of times we're looking at the total number of the added games and the regular board games. Well, like you said, they're all regular board games tomorrow, and top matchups. Well, I think we'll be talking Baylor, Texas Tech for sure, and either Kentucky, Georgia, or Villanova, Creighton, or Ohio State, Maryland, or there'll be there's a Houston Temple's a game that's worthy of talking about. So a lot of good games tomorrow.
A lot of good stuff, guys. Make sure you get the wagertalk.com, and of course, make sure you like this video. Come back and join us again tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. So, Ralph, good luck with the plays, my man. Good luck tonight, of course, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Talk to you in 23.
You got it.